everyone can hear. Hit me with the worst you got and knock me down. Baby, I don't care. Keep it up and sound enough and figure out. You wanna be, you wanna be a loser like me. A loser like me. Just go ahead and hate on me and run your mouth so everyone can hear. Hit me with the worst you got and knock me down. Baby, I don't care. Keep it up and soon enough you figure out. You wanna be, you wanna be a loser like me. A loser like me. A loser like me. Just go ahead and hate on me and run your mouth so everyone can hear. Hit me with the worst you got and knock me down. Baby, I don't care. Keep it up and soon enough you figure out. You wanna be, you wanna be a loser like me. Go ahead and hate on me and run your mouth so everyone can hear. Hit me with the worst you got and knock me down. Baby, I don't care. Keep it up and soon enough you figure out. You wanna be, you wanna be a loser like me. A loser like me. A loser like me. A loser like me. A loser like me.
What's going on now? Got a pot here! Got a pot here! Help me! I can't stop myself. Somebody rub the lamp! Somebody rub the lamp! Oh, you know I feel it. That's enough.
Hey y'all, and welcome to my very first episode of Media Madness Reviews. I'm Darkblade, the Media Meister. For as long as we can remember as children, at bedtimes we've been told fairy tales from books and stuff. And that's where Disney gets their inspiration from. And so the movie we're going to be reviewing today is none other than Disney's Tangled, released in 2010. Unfortunately, I never got to see it in theaters due to something going on around that time. But that's a story to get into in the next video in time. So, and while we watch this and review, I'm going to point out some key facts between the differences between that and the movie and the book. So, without further ado, it's time to get Tangled. Ebony, hit it!
This is the story of how I died.
Don't worry, this is actually a very fun story, and the truth is, it isn't even mine. This is the story of a girl named Rapunzel.
Wow, really? Isn't that obvious? And so we're told a story about a long time ago, a piece of the sun fell from the sky, and that piece formed into a magical flower known as the sun drop, which could heal wounds and cure diseases. As the ages pass, a kingdom is formed known as Corona, which is ruled by a good king and queen, as you can see. Unfortunately here, the queen is going to have a baby, but is very sick, and so the people of the kingdom search for the legendary sun drop flower. Oh, that's Gothel, voiced by Donna Murphy, who's been keeping the flower for herself for the ages in order to stay young again, and by singing a magical song for it. But fortunately, when she leaves, she lets it slip and they find the flower, bring it back to the queen, which heals her, and thus a healthy baby girl is born named Rapunzel. Now, I want to point out that Rapunzel's parents in the original story weren't royalty. They were commoners. So yeah. Later that night, Gothel sneaks into the castle. I mean, where are the guards? They should be patrolling everywhere. Good grief. And so she sneaks in, tries to use the power from the baby's hair, but when she cuts it, it turns brown and loses its power. And so Gothel decides to steal the baby, flee to a tower which kind of looks like from Sword in the Stone. And so she raises the girl as her own daughter in order to use her magical hair to stay young. The years pass, and then by now, Rapunzel is 17 and a half years old, voiced by Mandy Moore. And so she's been living a secluded life in this tower for all this time, but not completely alone. She had her friend Pascal, a chameleon, with her the whole time. So she spends her days cleaning, cooking, painting, reading books, playing with Pascal, wondering when her life is going to begin. That kind of sounds familiar, but we'll figure that out later though. Meanwhile, we're introduced to another character in the story named Flame Rider, voiced by Zachary Levi, along with the Stabbington brothers, where they steal the princess's crown from the castle.
Oh, hay fever?
Yeah. Huh? What? Wait! Hey!
And so, they escape with the crown. Meanwhile, Gothel returns to the tower. Oh, before I forget, I want to point out another fact from the book. The reason why Rapunzel is named that is because in the original story, Rapunzel's mother always had a craving for this plant called Rapunzel. Now, mind you, I'm not a botanist, so I'm not sure about plants and stuff, so I'm just remembering how it is. And so her husband would sneak into the witch's yard, which is next door to them, to steal the plant for his wife. One day, he gets caught by the witch. She lets him take the flowers, but in return, they would have to give her their daughter in time, which of course they did. And so, in the original story, that did happen. But we'll get to more of that later in this review. So Gothel calls Rapunzel to let her down her hair. Wow, I'm determined that all Disney princesses are superhuman. So then, they talk for a bit, and Rapunzel, about to turn 18, wants something special for her birthday, to see the lights, which are basically the lanterns. But then Gothel goes on about how the world is cruel, wicked, evil, and how people are bad. You know, that is starting to sound familiar, but where? Where from? Yes! The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah, I can definitely see some similarities to this. Rapunzel being Quasimodo, Gothel being Frollo, and I suppose Flynn being Esmeralda. So yeah, definitely some good similarities. No. No fan songs on the show. We're sticking to pure original content for this segment.
You'll be sorry!
Yes, I just did that. Now you see why the show's called Media Madness. Because
most everyone's mad here.
did you just seriously steal my thunder?
I did what?
My thunder.
What thunder? It's a clear sky.
I mean my line.
A line of what?
Forget it.
Can you stand on your head?
I'll use your head as a bowling ball if you don't get lost right now.
You may have noticed that I'm not all there myself. And the more us out of breath.
Is he going to come back? Right. Let's carry on then. So then we go back to to Flame Rider and the Stabbington brothers escaping from the palace guards. And like, what does any good thief do? Backstabs his colleagues. So Flame Rider escapes with the crown, leaving the Stabbington brothers behind. The captain's horse, Maximus, is determined to catch him. Wow, I never seen that much determination in a horse. And so he finally corners them by a tree, and then... Whoa, what's going on? Excuse me.
2,000 years later.
I'm okay. I'm okay. But I think I just lost my dinner. Why did that happen? Okay, that's just weird. Moving on. So after that daring escape, Flynn Rider finds the tower through a secret passageway and climbs his way up. And then...
Alone at last.
Blazes! What's the big idea bashing me on my noggin?
So then Rapunzel examines him to see if what her mother has been saying is true about him. And then...
Now who's responsible for this attack on my person?
Excuse me. What? I don't want to get hit in the head. Moving on. So then Rapunzel decides to stash the stiff into the closet. I think we're about to have a closet case on our hands. Yeah, very funny.
20 minutes later. One hour later. 2 hours later. 3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
I've got her person in my closet.
And yeah, it's probably gonna look like a skeleton in the closet after a bit. Is she going to show up every time I make a pun? You're gonna look like a trash can if you don't stop that snarky attitude with me. Okay, moving on. So then, after a bit... So then after that, Mother Gothel returns to the tower, and so Rapunzel tries to convince her again to let her go to see the lights. But...
Enough of the lights, Rapunzel! You are not leaving this tower! Ever!
You suck!
Great. Now I'm the bad guy.
Oh, come on, what are you complaining about? Of course you're the bad guy. It's your role in the movie. What are you complaining about? Good grief. So Rapunzel comes up with a plan to lure Gothel away by asking for a certain paint that's a long journey away, about 3 days. Gothel, seemingly unaware of her plan, agrees to it and leaves. And so, after that...
Disgusting!
Is this hair?
No, it's just wavy rope. Of course it's long hair. Good grief. So Rapunzel interrogates Flynn about how he found her, assuming that he knows about her hair, but he's pretty oblivious to the situation. And so he wonders where his satchel is. She tells him that she hid it, but then...
It's in that pot, isn't it?
This calls for massive retaliation.
Again, wear a helmet. So after being knocked out again, She keeps interrogating him, asking him to take her to see the lanterns, and in return get his satchel back. Of course, he tries to sweet-talk her out of it.
You serious?
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work, pal. So reluctantly, he agrees.
Really? Oops.
You did that on purpose.
And so they begin their journey to see the lights. Rapunzel's a little nervous at first, but then she seems to be happy about getting out of the tower. So as they're out and about, she's starting to have second thoughts and dilemmas about the situation.
Mother would be so furious. But that's okay. I mean, what she doesn't know won't kill her, right? Oh my gosh. This would kill her. This is so fun! I am a horrible daughter. I'm going back. I am never going back! I am a despicable human being. Woohoo! Best day ever!
Don't worry, Rapunzel, we've all been there. We're always worried about what our parents might think. Meanwhile, Maximus is still on the hunt for Flynn. Gothel runs into him.
A palace horse. Where's your rider? Rapunzel. Rapunzel!
Really? You run into a horse and you're assuming that Rapunzel's in trouble? So then Gothel flees back to the tower to look for Rapunzel. But when she doesn't answer, for real, they had a back door the whole time and nobody noticed. So she gets into the tower, knows Rapunzel isn't anywhere to be found, and so finds the crown as well, and decides to take matters into her own hands.
Mommy's very angry.
Meanwhile, Flynn takes Rapunzel to the Snuggly Duckling for some food.
Garçon, your finest table, please. You know what they say, looks can be deceiving. Yeah, the real reason why he brought her there is to scare her, to get her back to the tower, so he doesn't have to go through this plan. Unfortunately, the ruffians of the place recognize him and decide to turn him over, but then... Yeah, I think you're in trouble now, Rapunzel. So then she tries to talk to these people, ask them why they're like this, and where's their humanity.
Find your humanity! Haven't any of you ever had a dream?
I had a dream once.
Which seems to fortunately work. Everyone is telling through song their dreams. Yeah, this song is pretty uplifting about having dreams and to follow them. And it's pretty catchy too, actually. Then the guards show up, but thankfully, there's a secret passageway and they show them the way out.
Go. Live your dream.
I will.
Your dream stinks. I was talking to her.
Well, excuse me!
Probably the best line in this movie, in my opinion. So then Maximus shows up. I swear he must have been a dog in another lifetime. And then he finds the passageway, which the guards pursue through. The Stabbington brothers get free, and then Gothel interrogates one of the ruffians about where that tunnel leads. So as Flynn and Rapunzel go through the tunnel... And then they notice the guards are chasing after them, and they escape to the other side, which leads into like a mining or quarry kind of area. So Rapunzel gets across, and then Eugene stays behind to fight off the guards.
Oh, Mama, I have got to get me one of these.
Really? I would prefer a lightsaber.
And then he fights Maximus, loses the frying pan, but thankfully Rapunzel helps him get out of there.
You should see your faces because you look...
But Maximus is still determined to catch him. And then... I got one thing to say about that. Oh, damn. I swear, that's starting to get old. How many times a day do I have to threaten your life? So then, as the dam breaks, the place starts to flood. Flynn and Rapunzel flee into a cave. Unfortunately, they get trapped in it while the cave is starting to flood. They try to find a way out, but Flynn injures his hand. So as they're probably going to drown to death, Flynn and Rapunzel share a moment where she's regretting everything. Flynn reveals the truth that his real name is actually Eugene Fitzherbert. And then Rapunzel tells him her secret.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
What?
And so with singing the song, the hair glows and they find a way out of there. So they manage to get free. Meanwhile, the Stabbington brothers find a way out. Gothel confronts them and tells them that they can get more money by working for her. Meanwhile, that night, Rapunzel uses her hair to heal Eugene's hand through the song. And they share another moment where they talk about each other's past. She explains her story that her mother told her about when she was born, people wanting her hair. Eugene reveals that he grew up in an orphanage and used to read a book called Flynn Rider to the kids, and so he adopted that identity. So while Eugene leaves to go get more firewood, Gothel shows up again, tries to take Rapunzel back. But Rapunzel doesn't want to go because she's determined to see this through. And so, of course, as usual, Gothel makes another mocking song.
All good things to those who wait.
Okay, I'll admit, those are true words spoken right there. I'll give her points for that one. The next morning, while sleeping in,
What? Well, I hope you're here to apologize.
I like how he notices Maximus, but decides to go back to sleep anyways. So then he tries to drag Eugene away. Rapunzel wakes up and gets the horse to stop, and gets them both to put aside the differences because it's her birthday. So then they make their way to the Kingdom of Corona, which is, I have to say, for 3D anime, this is pretty interesting. So they're preparing for the festival. Rapunzel's having trouble getting around because of her long hair. So then they get help from 4 little girls who braid her hair. I have to say, that's pretty nice. But unfortunately, I'm allergic to pollen, so I don't want to get near that stuff. So they spend time around town. Rapunzel sees the mural of the king and queen and the baby girl, which kind of has a bit of a revelation to her. But then she starts a dance in the town square, which is pretty lively. And so, yeah, this is probably the best day for her. So, and you can see there's probably a connection between her and Eugene going on by now. So later that evening, it's almost time to set out the lanterns. And, of course, the king and queen are still depressed about their lost daughter. So then the lanterns begin to set out. And I have to say, this is a pretty nice scene right here. The song here is pretty nice and soothing, and again, there seems to be a strong connection between Rapunzel and Eugene as they share yet another moment. Unfortunately, the moment is ruined when Eugene sees the Stabbington brothers. So he goes to shore, tries to give them the crown, but they knock him out and tie him to a boat to trick Rapunzel. And so they try to grab Rapunzel. She tries to escape, but as you can see, her hair gets caught. So then she's saved by Gothel. So the reason why, as you can see, she recruited those two was just to use them to scare Rapunzel. And so Rapunzel, believing that Eugene betrayed her, goes home heartbroken. And then Eugene gets caught by the guards, being tied up to the boat with the crown in his hands. So Rapunzel returns to the tower with Gothel. She's pretty depressed about what happened, but then that's when it happens. Looking up at her ceiling, noticing the symbols of the sun, it all comes back to her, where she somehow remembers that she is the long-lost princess. And then she confronts Gothel about it and decides to leave, but that's when things start to take a turn for the worse right there.
You want me to be the bad guy? Fine. Now I'm the bad guy.
Meanwhile, Eugene is about to be executed, but guess who comes to save the day? None other than Maximus and the ruffians from the Snuggly Duckly. With the help of Maximus, he races to the tower to save Rapunzel. And so, as he gets inside, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty fatal right there. So, Gothel has Rapunzel gagged and chained, trying to drag her along to leave, but Rapunzel begs Gothel to let her heal Eugene, and then she'll leave with her peacefully. But Eugene does the unthinkable. Right then and there, Gothel starts aging rapidly. And then... man, talk about biting the dust. This better be the last time she does this. This is starting to get old for me. So then, unfortunately, Eugene is dying from those wounds. Of course, he confesses to her that his dream is her, and he unfortunately dies in her arms. Rapunzel, upset by her loss, seems to trigger something in her. Her teardrop seems to contain the healing properties of the sun drop, and thus it heals him, and they share a kiss. So, in a way, Flynn Rider died right there, but Eugene Fitzherbert lives on. So, after that, they return to the castle, where Rapunzel finally reunites with her mother and father. And then they, of course, embrace Eugene as well for bringing her back. Oh, look, it's a Kodak moment. Put that bear out of here. So the celebration lasts for a while, as it's told. Everybody's dream has come true, and Rapunzel is home with her real family, with Eugene at her side. And so everything seems to work out well in the end.
And we're living happily ever after.
Yes, we are.
So now for the final take on this movie. Tangled was definitely an interesting movie. So I suppose this makes Rapunzel the first 3D princess to ever been created. It's definitely a different take from the original, but it has a good message about following your dreams and try not to be afraid to do so, and all that. However, I wish the story could have had a little more to it in some ways. I mean, it's not bad, really. I mean, there's always an up and down to every story there is. And so, my final rating for this movie is probably 8 out of 10. Now, they did make a series out of this called Tangled the Series, which was 2D animated, which is a sequel to after this movie. So, we might possibly do a review on the series in time, depending on the majority of the viewers and how many subscribers this show gets. So, that's going to probably do it for this episode of Media Madness. Peace out, and good night. I suppose I could take this helmet off now, huh?